Well, hey everybody, it's 3 p.m. and it is time for dinner with Nanny Bubby, and look at where I am. I cannot believe I'm here. I'm so thrilled. And in just a second, I'm going to be introducing you to the owner of the Temecula Olive Oil Company. And here I am right in the middle of the olive groves out here on the ranch. And so please will you welcome to our Thursday interview, even though it's Monday, because we usually do this on Thursday, Thom Curry. Thom, so nice. Oh, I mean, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, it was a drive to get here.
We're a little out of the way.
You are, but certainly worth every minute of it. So you have 5 store locations, one in Laguna, which is where I discovered
We actually met there.
We did meet. I know you don't remember, but I
do.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, he's just saying that. You know, he's a gentleman. Isn't that sweet of him? But I heard you say that the whole idea for the retail stores was actually your wife's. Is that correct?
It is, and actually, she's the owner. I work for her.
Oh, okay.
And she and a friend of ours and neighbor founded the company. And we had a winery at the time. That's why we moved to Temecula. Was we were both in the wine business, and we wanted to continue that by owning our own winery. And we had a lease option on a winery in Temecula that we were running. And I'd always talk about making olive oil. And finally, Nance just got sick of hearing me talk. And she went out with our friend, and they designed a label, put the whole business together, and kicked me in the butt to go pick some olives and make some olive oil. And so I did.
And here we are. You know, I'm concerned. I just want to know, I think we might have to move just a touch closer to the camera just so that they can hear us, since we don't have a microphone. And that works so much better. So what a beautiful place. I know. Hi there, Roseanne. So nice to see you. Thom is here, and everyone's takes a few minutes for everybody to find us. Can you just respond to if you can hear us okay, and if this is better that we move forward? I'm starting to learn this technique of using this without a microphone, so hopefully we'll just talk and project our voices towards there. Yeah.
All right, we'll do that.
So I also heard you say that you had never been in agriculture before.
That's
you did
true.
Not grow up in agriculture, but you look, honey, you look to me like you grew up on a ranch. So are you a city boy, and from where?
Well, my dad was a Navy pilot, so we moved every 2 years, and luckily being in the Navy, it was always near a beach.
Right.
So I grew up at the beach pretty much.
Okay.
Surfing and scuba diving, those kind of things. So anything inland was kind of foreign to me. And you don't grow a lot of stuff at the beach.
No, it doesn't grow there on that sand, does it?
No. So it was kind of foreign to me. But as I evolved with my education, I got more interested, especially in growing grapes and making wine.
And so how did you end up in the wine business to start with?
Well, I started working in a restaurant when I was 13, and the restaurant had an incredible wine list. So I kind of got interested in it at a young age and worked my way through college as a sommelier and just kept going from there. And
Did you go to sommelier school?
I took the Master of Wine program.
Oh, wow.
And I actually got to be on the cover of Wine Spectator when I was as a sommelier in college. And,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I love that story. I love that.
And it kind of progressed into what we're doing now. The olive oil business. We had this winery. We made some olive oil. We started tasting people in our tasting room with the wine. Pretty soon people were coming just for the olive oil.
So I'm guessing that you have a sophisticated palate. Like you could taste an olive oil and say this taste of olive oil comes from Italy, this comes from Spain. I mean, can you taste the differences?
Definitely. I judged wine competitions for years and years and years, and kind of got interested in becoming a panel member for the olive oil taste panel here in California. So I took the test and passed that. So I sat on the California Olive Oil Council taste panel for about 20 years. And the interesting thing, the difference between olive oil and wine, with olive oil, there isn't as much of that terroir as you get where,
I don't know what that means.
It's kind of the land that it grows in. A certain variety of olives from Spain tastes very similar to that same variety grown in California. There's not a lot of differences in the growing regions as much. There is differences between cool climates and warmer climates.
Right.
That makes a big difference. But the varieties definitely have big differences.
I've heard it said that there's a lot of controversy about the olive oil that comes out of Italy, and I don't know if you want to address that, but there is, you know, the cartel there apparently is mixing that olive oil with other oils and still selling it as 100% olive oil. Can you address that?
Well, that used to be a big problem. But now that testing has gotten better and easier and cheaper, we don't see as much of the problem with adulteration as we did in the past. So that isn't as big of a problem now. Some of the olive oils that come from Italy that say product of Italy are actually blends of olive oils from different areas, mainly Spain, some Turkey, Tunisia. And those don't always tend to be the best olives from those areas either. So quality can be...
So how do you tell the difference? If you're really looking for an olive oil, hey Heather, how are you? My sister Heather is here. She was with me the day we met you. So as was my decorator, Thomas Meyer, if he's here. So we'll see. I don't know if he's on or not. But they were both very excited that I was going to be seeing you today. And I can't remember my question. I'm so sorry.
We were talking about the olive oils from Spain and the quality, and if we can tell the quality by looking at the bottle, perhaps. Is that where you're going? How do you tell good olive oil from...
Exactly. How do you then, if you're a consumer and you're not connected to the earth and connected to the grower, where you can trust where you're getting that olive oil, then how do you connect to knowing from looking at a bottle like at Trader Joe's or at Whole Foods? So,
it's tough.
Yeah,
it really is. And that's why being connected to your growers, whoever they are, for any of your food, the more you know about it, the better.
Right.
I say there's basically 3 things you want to look for in olive oil. If you have a chance to taste it, that's always the best. That's why we have the tasting rooms. People can taste it and know what they like, because there are a lot of differences in olive oils. You know, as far as just good olive oils, but different varieties.
And so how do you know what olive oil to cook with? Hey, Teresa and Scott. Let's see. Oh, Scott Silber is here. Hey, Scott. So how do you know what olive oil to cook with? How do you know what olive oil to finish with?
Well, that's an interesting question. I like that question. I get it more and more now, because there's this talk out there about olive oil is got a low smoke point. You can't cook high heat.
Use avocado oil.
Yeah, BS.
BS,
yeah.
really?
Olive oil. Good.
How long have you been hearing me say that? I've been telling them this for over 3 years now.
And there's.
But that's fine. I can be wrong and still learn.
Well, because the tests that they do with, for these smoke points are using olive oil from the grocery store, which is usually old and tired olive oil. Got it. And it does have a low smoke point. Okay. So a good fresh extra virgin olive oil, a fresh squeezed olive oil as it were, you can cook up to 400 degrees, no problem. But how do you know? I mean, if I'm not buying it from Temecula Olive Oil Company, I mean, how do I know as a consumer when I walk through Whole Foods or Trader Joe's? How do I know? It's difficult. And my suggestion, all right, like I was going to say, 3 things that you look for. First thing, easy to eliminate. Anything in a clear bottle is not going to be good. The light will oxidize that oil as quickly. So green bottle, brown bottle. Tin, anything like that. Tin. Anything that doesn't allow the light to come in is a good thing. Oh, you want to buy it in a tin? You can buy it in a tin, in dark glass. Dark glass. What else? Anything else? Just anything that's not letting the light in. Okay. A clear bottle. So when you're looking at that shelf and you see all those clear bottles with all those green and golden colors and everything, eliminate them. So don't use a green bottle. No, green's fine. Green's fine. Dark bottle, just no clear bottles. No clear bottles, okay. Got that? Okay. So clear bottle, Hi there, good. Alan. Okay, go ahead. Second thing, olive oil is fruit juice, right? Yes, I love that. I love that. Did you hear that? I just want to say it again. Olive oil is fruit juice. That's how you have to look at it. Yeah, because it's a fruit. You pick it and you just squeeze it, right? Right. We just take it one step further and separate the oil and the water, right? Right. But it's still fruit juice. You want your fruit juice fresh. Okay. You want to know when it was made. Now, olive oil is an amazing fruit juice in that a well-made olive oil will stay at room temperature for 2 years and still be delicious. Oh, okay. But after a couple years, it from the time it's squeezed until the time you consume it, it's not getting any better. It's not like wine that's getting better with age, or like us, getting better with age, right? It's not getting any better, so you want to have it as fresh as possible. Okay. So some kind of date on the label. On the label, okay. At the very least, a year. Within 2 years. Yeah, you want like a vintage, like it was made in 2021 or whatever, the more information,
And then you
the
can
better.
keep it for 2 years, and then
Unopened.
Unopened. Okay.
Once you open it, it's fruit juice. Consume it as quickly as possible. Within a month or two is best.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That olive oil, because there's air getting into it constantly at that point. Once you open it, the air is oxidizing it and making it less flavorful.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, and it's
That's
okay
all right.
if you say you look like a guy who could be put on the spot. But if as a consumer, is there a brand of, you know, grocery store, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, you know, Albertsons, Ralph's, whatever you have, of consumer oil as an olive oil that you like would trust, that you would recommend to,
Well,
like the one that says California on it?
yeah, I would say more local the better.
Okay.
So California is about the only place in the United States that can produce olive oil. We have the right climate for it. There's a little bit being made in Arizona, and Texas is doing some as well. Also Georgia and Florida, I think, are in the mix, but they're not producing an awful lot, and they're not consistent. So 99% of all the olive oil made in the United States is made in California. So looking for California is going to be your local producer.
And do you like Spain or Italy better for olive oil?
Both.
Okay.
I don't differentiate.
He's half Spanish, so that was a fair answer, right?
Actually, in a lot of the tastings we've been doing, the olive oils that are really rising to the top, as it were, are from Croatia.
Oh.
Croatia is making some really
Have
good
you ever
olive.
been?
Yes.
Yes,
it's
me
beautiful.
too. It's beautiful. The Dalmatian coast is just
It's
gorgeous,
amazing.
right?
But Sicily always does well.
Yes.
You know, a lot of good olive oils from Greece, all over.
Yeah, Greek.
Morocco is producing some good stuff as well. All over the Mediterranean, there's fantastic. It's just like wine. There's, you know, every region has its really good stuff, and then not so good.
And so in the United States, at least I think it's 49 of our 50 states produce wine.
Right.
Is that right? 49 of the 50. I'm assuming
Alaska-
Alaska is the only one that doesn't. Yeah?
It's tough up there.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my gosh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. So you started in the wine business. You were a sommelier. You started when you were 13 years old, which is, you know, you walked into the right thing at the right time for you.
Yeah, it was fun.
And so tell me, you ended up in Tuscany, and you went through a marketing phase of your life. So you began to tell a story earlier, which I cut you off on, so I kind of wanted to walk back to that.
Sure.
Okay, so you're in marketing, and how did you end up in Tuscany?
So I was doing sales and marketing for a lot of different high-end wine companies, and so I was in Tuscany on a trip with representing one of these wine companies, and we were at a dinner. This company had been making wine since the 1300s, so they had some experience at it, making some of the best wines in the world. But when he started talking about the wines, he'd go into all the detail about it. But he picked up a bottle of olive oil from one of his groves, and his whole demeanor changed. I mean, it was like part of his heart. And I thought, there's something to this. And that really got me on the road to looking more at the olive oil, and it really led us right down this path. And here we are.
How did you bought this property, you said it was a meth lab, right?
Pretty much,
at some point when you found it.
Yeah, it was
are you
pretty
familiar
bad.
with Apricot Lane Farms?
Yeah. We actually make olive oil for them.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Right. And
we bring our mobile mill to their property, which is gorgeous, by the way.
Yes, I know. And their story is amazing,
yes, it
isn't
is.
it? So it sounds very similar to yours, where they had just a wreck of a property.
And they fix it up really nice.
I've heard that. And everything is regenerative farming, correct? And that's what has made that farm so amazing. Look that up, Apricot Lane Farms. And on Netflix, they have a movie called The Biggest Little Farm, which really just inspires and opens your heart. It's really quite an amazing story it is. So how many acres are you here?
We're 26 here.
Okay, that's a lot of acres.
It's not all planted. We still have some areas that haven't been planted yet for various reasons. But overall, we farm and manage about almost 300 acres of trees now around Southern California.
Wow. And I heard you say that one of the things that you love, because you didn't grow up in agriculture, right? But that one of the things that you love about olive farming, olive tree farming, as opposed to wine, is that it takes very little water.
Yes.
It can manage the heat extraordinarily well, which we know from Vegas.
Yes.
Many of us who are here from Vegas, you know, we have olive trees, everybody in our front yards.
Right.
Right.
They do well.
They do very, very well. No one knows what to do with them, so you've got nothing but olives on the ground.
I can give you some ideas.
Okay, I love that. And so you love this, that passion that you heard from your friend in Tuscany, and the passion that you have comes from exactly what? Like, why this? Why not dairy farming as an example, or why not wine growing?
I'm not sure the exact reason, but there's several different parts of that. The trees themselves, they're just so easy to care for and so forgiving. And, you know, with grapes, it's like you're constantly having to do something to keep them happy, whereas these trees are just happy on their own.
They are.
They're really good for the environment as far as low water, not a lot of inputs. Really, in most places, the only inputs are sunlight and a little bit of water.
And by a little bit, what, like, how do you measure
So, compared to like avocados, it's about a quarter the amount of water that an avocado would use, or even less. About a third of what citrus would use. So it's really, these trees will grow without any irrigation at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What happens when they're not irrigated properly, which means in the springtime, giving them ample water, especially in dry years, they'll be alternate bearing. So one year you get a really big crop, the next year a really small crop. So with irrigation, we can manage that a little bit better. But we have some dry farmed olive trees that have no irrigation.
Oh, that's amazing.
And there's actually on the 15 freeway, which goes north of here.
It's Vegas, all the way to Vegas.
Yep. They're just north of here. There was a big olive grove when they built the freeway. They cut down these trees.
Oh.
And in the median between the north and southbound lane where they cut down these trees, some of them have grown back.
Oh.
So they're growing in the middle of the freeway.
I love
with
that.
just car exhaust and
everything.
And they'll be loaded with fruit this year.
And when you say that you could tell everyone at home, hey, Tawny, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. And Doug Eischer's here, so happy. And Leanna's here. Oh, my goodness, everybody's finding us. So thank you for all coming in. They all come in and find us. So when you say, oh, I could tell people in Vegas what to do with all those olives when they hit the ground.
Before they hit the ground.
Okay, before they hit the ground. If you've got an olive tree in your yard and you have nothing but a mess, listen up. Here's the key.
I always get people that, oh, I've got an olive tree and it's messy. And, you know, if you have an apple tree and you don't pick the apples, it's messy too. You have to use them for something. So pick the olives, and there's a lot of good recipes for curing olives. So it's very simple. They've been doing it for thousands of years.
I love that.
And you can cure them, get some really cool jars, and then...
When you say cure, that means put them in salt?
Salt and water, and you keep rinsing them.
Oh.
Okay, it's not that hard.
It's like fermenting sauerkraut, right? It's like taking cabbage and fermenting.
Exactly.
Same thing.
And you can do a fermentation process or without fermentation, depending on how much salt you add to it. But what you're doing is taking all the bitterness out of the fruit. If you take an olive right off the tree and eat it, I like to say it's memorable. You'll never forget how bad it tastes.
Right, exactly.
Right? So you want to get rid of that bitterness, and you use salt water, or you can use lye. And you take the bitterness out, then you put them in a jar with some vinegar and herbs and spices and put a pretty bow on it, and now you have Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts or anything.
That. Yes. And so let me ask you this. So we've got Greek olives, the Kalamata olives, and then we've got green olives, we've got black olives that come in a can.
Ooh, my favorites.
Yeah. Are they?
No, not really.
Oh, I'll tell you what, when I was a kid, that's what I ate for dessert, are black olives and green olives.
My daughters love the black olives.
Yeah, I love them. But I like green olives better. In a martini, especially.
Of course.
Okay. So, like, what variety are these? These olive trees, are they the Kalamata olives, what we would think of as Greek olives? What olives?
So, we get confusion with varieties and styles. Okay. So, like what we call the Greek olives, the kind of wrinkly black cured olives, salt cured olives.
Yeah.
Those can be any variety. In California, if you buy a California Greek olives, they're usually Manzanilla, which is a Spanish variety.
Right.
So that's the process of curing, the Greek style.
So they all look like this on the tree?
They all start off green, and then they turn black as they ripen.
So the green olives that we eat in martinis, those are just harvested
early in the season.
Olives,
But
there you go. But
to confuse it even more,
yes,
the ones that you're talking about in the cans. Right?
yes,
All right.
black in the can.
The black in the can
Yeah.
are actually picked before the green olives. They're picked early in the season when they're still green, and they ferment them to turn them black.
Really, because they look fatter than the Kalamata olives
Yeah.
or the Greek olives.
That's
Greek
'cause
curing.
They the Greek, with the salt curing, you're kind of shriveling them up. With the fermented curing, they're doing it in water, so they kind of plump up more. That's why those canned olives are the ones that you make the finger puppets out of.
Yes, they're in a brine.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of flavor. They taste more like the brine than they do olives.
That's true, they do.
Because they were picked so early, they really didn't develop any flavor. The color comes from the fermentation and mixing air in.
So these are olive trees,
Right.
and it's not varietal, it's preparation
For the eating olives.
for the eating olives.
Now for olive oil, the variety has a distinct flavor.
Okay.
You'll taste manzanilla is going to taste drastically
So
different.
we can't eat these olives. These are just typical for olive oil.
Well, some of these you could
But they
do
all look
both.
the same, right?
Some are smaller. What we found, rule of thumb, is the smaller the olive, the more oil content, the better off it is for making oil. The bigger ones are better for curing. Because they're easier to eat, and they tend to have less oil in them, which makes them more tasty as an olive to eat.
Yeah.
So making the style of oil or olive to eat depends on the process. Whereas with the olive oil, since it's fruit juice, we can't do anything in the process to change the flavors. It's all up to the tree that you pick, the variety. So a Greek variety is like a Kalamata. The oil from the Kalamata tastes much different than a Spanish variety from manzanilla. You can definitely, 99% of the people tasting them will taste the difference.
That's amazing. So let me ask you, as a farmer, life is not easy.
Especially in the last year or so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sacrifices that I'm sure your family, you have had to make. What was one of those toughest? Listen, so many people that are our viewers have gone through some of the toughest times of their lives as they were in midlife, as they got towards retirement. I mean, we've got all ages that come here, but most everyone I know wants to be inspired by a story where, and we've all hit that curve, right? I know certainly my husband and I have more than once in our lives. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, what moment through all of this was really, really tough, and yet you persevered through it?
Well, we've really been lucky in that we haven't had any really drastic things happen to us since we've been in this business.
And I'm going to give you a knock on wood there, so that you don't.
But Mother Nature is capricious. Things happen. We've had years where the harvest has just been terrible, and we've had to go search for olive groves or different areas where we could pick. Knocking on doors. You have 3 olive trees. Do you mind if we pick them, kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
Because if the olives aren't there, you can't make the oil.
Right.
And so there have been some panic times when Mother Nature doesn't deliver on things. It's been a hard time. We've planted trees in areas where they didn't grow very well, mostly because of the cold. We found out, interestingly enough, you can't plant olives very well above 3,000 feet here in California because it gets too cold. And also too near rivers where the cold air will, so we lost a lot of crops to that as well. It's kind of a trial and error thing. You make mistakes all the time, but you have to learn from them. You have to get back up, and you have to keep going.
You do with everything in life, whether you're a farmer or whether you're a ad man. It's the same thing. The
best part about it, though, is it is a family business, and when things happen, the family pitches in. Nancy is fantastic, and our kids are always helpful.
As I've seen. So you have how many kids?
We have 3 daughters.
3 daughters. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I looked through, if you could just step just slightly, I just want everybody to see this beautiful walkway here. And I said, is your daughter going to get married here one day? And he said that his partner's daughter just did get married here. Hey, Frank, how are you? And which I thought was great. So
And my oldest daughter is going to get married here next year.
and
so.
that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So what we're going to do is we are going to go for just a little walk. We are going to walk into the crushing room.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted all of you to see the entire ranch. You call it a ranch or a farm?
Ranch.
Ranch. The ranch and what...
We wrangle olives.
Yeah. And yeah, there you go. And I will, in fact, I am going to grab the kid because Cynthia is here with all of us. Cynthia, come say hello to everybody. There she is. So Cynthia lives up here in Fallbrook, down the road, and so whenever I'm in this area, Cynthia's always here with me. And so she's got all the purses. So what I'm going to do is I think I'll grab the camera and we'll follow you. Okay. We're going to go into the crushing room, and then after you see the crushing room and the process, we're going to go to the tasting room, which I can't wait. My son loves the hatch chili vinegar.
It's delicious.
It's delicious. I mean, and there's so many. I love the vanilla and fig. Mm-hmm. There's another one that just came out, which was vanilla and
date.
Date. I could not read the word date.
Yes.
I walk in my pantry all the time and I'll go like this and go like.
Our labels are. Our partner Catherine's got this really nice handwriting. And
I couldn't make out the word date. So vanilla and date. Oh my
yeah.
God, that's delicious too, even though I couldn't read it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to, well, let's just walk out of the camera a minute, and just so all of you can just see this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful look. So gorgeous. And Frank, don't worry about being late. We all know. And there you are. So we're going to follow you. I hope I don't trip over the tripod. Whoops, I just did. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm going to have to do it as a slant here because the tripod is longer than me. Whoop. Oh. Yep. Okay. There we go. Yeah, kind of. All right. This is wonderful. So this is just the parking lot here. But you know what, Thom, could we stop at the capers?
Sure.
So I wanted all of you, Cynthia and I just learned what capers grow and look like. So Thom is going to show us that, which is so fun.
These were difficult to get going.
Were they?
Yeah, it took us a lot of trial and error. But these are the caper plants. The flowers are really pretty. They look kind of like a fuchsia, and they are edible. But the caper itself comes from the flower bud before it's open. And you'll take that and cure it in salt.
Here, let's walk it in here. Yeah. There it is.
That's
a little tiny. And it smells like capers too.
Yes. And then you also have the caper berries, which is the fruit after
there it is.
The flower gets pollinated, it forms this fruit. And then when this fruit ripens, we can take the seeds out of it and start more plants.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, up this way to the crushing room. Okay.
When we were cleaning up the property, there was a lot of junk on it and lots of tires. And we started taking the tires to the dump, and they got real expensive. So we started making retaining walls and trying to find different things to do with the tires.
Roseanne wants to know why the littler the better capers are.
The flavor just, and they sit on your food better is mostly what it is.
Oh, really?
The smaller ones, if you have your chicken piccata or something, you like those little, not the big capers on there, but the littler ones. They're also more expensive because they're harder to pick.
Aha, there you go, Roseanne. How do you like that? They're harder to pick. So they're a little more expensive, but it's mostly for the way they sit on the food. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is kind of a courtyard where they have the weddings, and there's a big, beautiful fireplace, which is lovely. And then we're going right now into the crushing room, if I can get there without tripping like I just did. Sorry about that camera work. Okay. Whoop. All right, here we go. We'll turn it around. Hello. Okay, there I am. All right, what have we got? Can we see it?
Yeah, here, let's...
You go ahead.
Move it back just...
Okay, and
So
I'll
we can
come
get
over
it.
here next to you.
So this was the first mill that we made, and we had been taking our olives to another mill, and we decided we wanted to do our own thing. So we designed and made this mill in the old-fashioned kind of stone mill, because we really like the flavor of the olive oil coming from the stone mills.
And maybe I can just lift this up so that you guys can all look inside. Yeah.
So the olives go in here,
Uh-huh.
and the wheels go around and crush the olives.
Wow, look at that.
It's all stainless steel, so everything that touches the olives can be steam cleaned and sprayed with vodka, so it's nice and sanitary.
Sprayed with vodka.
Yeah, well, vodka is a good sanitizer.
Is it?
Yeah, it doesn't leave any odors or anything like that, and it goes good with olives, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So the olives get crushed in here. When we're crushing them, we have the seeds and everything. So when the seeds are being crushed, it sounds like popcorn popping. And we know when the crushing part is done because the popcorn sound stops.
Right, and it is true that you have to crush olives within 24 hours of harvesting, right?
Well,
which is something I didn't know, is that you needed to do that within 24 hours. And you said you do yours even sooner.
Yeah, 24 hours, especially here in Southern California when it's warm, that's a little bit longer than we like to. That's kind of the rule of thumb in the industry. What's happening is the olives are a fruit. And once you pick them, there's sugars and carbohydrates in there that can start to ferment. So if you wait too long, that fermentation starts taking place. You end up with a flavor profile in your olive oil. On the taste panel, we call it fusty. And fusty...
Grubby and fusty.
Yes,
Those are
grubby.
the two- I've heard two flavor panels, grubby and
Fusty.
fusty. There you go.
If you don't know fusty, if you go to the grocery store and buy one of those bottles of olive oil in the clear bottle, and you open it up and smell it, that's going to be fusty.
Smells fusty.
And it's a lot of the olive oils, they let the olives fall into nets and they pick them and take them to the mill maybe once a week. And so by that time, that fermentation has taken place. But a lot of that oil ends up in the United States because
We don't know better.
we don't know any better.
We don't know better because we go through a drive-through and we don't care what we're getting.
Well, and you're not exposed to fresh olive oil. When we started this business about 20 years ago, over 99% of all the olive oil consumed in the United States was imported.
So it was for years out
Yeah.
there.
And then now, 20 years later, 95% is still imported. And trust me, they're not sending all their good stuff over here. And since we don't know what fresh olive oil is supposed to taste like, it's really difficult to know any better.
Right.
We were talking about orange juice.
Right.
And, you know,
Yes.
as a kid, our orange juice came in a tube and you took it out of the freezer and you mixed it into the pitcher and that was perfectly good, right?
Right.
Until you taste fresh squeezed orange juice.
And then you can never go back.
No, same with olive oil. When you come to our tasting bar and you taste that first sip, when you look at the cup and you go, they're going to make me just drink oil. And you
Yes.
take that first sip and it's like, wow,
Wow.
totally different.
And the reason why is because it really is juice. It's olive juice.
And it's fresh squeezed.
And it's fresh squeezed. So from here, this
So-
is
So from here, it goes into our mixer.
okay, let's take a nice
Take a
look
quick look
inside
at the-
there.
So it's like a big ice cream mixer.
Oh, let's go. Yeah, there we go.
And the paste is going to get mixed. The seeds that were broken up by the crusher are piercing into the cells and liberating more of the oil. And so this is making more of the oil readily available for us. It's
And
gonna-
so just want to reiterate that you crush both the meat and the seeds,
Yes.
right?
Yes, we've done some experiments with where I'm going to do one more thing over here.
Oh, okay.
That's all right. So once
Tell me if I have you because I can't see. Am I on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we mix up the paste and then we auger the paste out onto these mats, these stainless steel mats. And we end up with like a big tapenade pizza. And it looks delicious. You want to just start eating it, but it still tastes like an olive. So we're going to take it over to our press. We start stacking these up right on the press
Okay.
and squeezing the juice out of them. The solids stay on the mats and the juice runs into this tray
Okay.
and then from the tray, it goes through these tubes into our super secret olive oil separator.
Yeah, I want to show them that
Yeah.
because it's really so elementary mechanical as really how this works. And because because the oil is lighter than water, so let's see, am I on that? Yeah, I am. Can you guys see this okay? Hey, Maruka, nice to have you here.
So it's magic what's happening in here. Mm-hmm. So as this vessel is filling up with the juice, oil and water, the magic happens. It's like if you have a jar with oil and water in it that's all shaken up, you put it on the counter, what happens?
It separates.
Magic, right?
Magic.
Gravity works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and
It
it's
does.
free.
It is.
So as gravity's working on this, it's filling up, the oil and water are separating. And we have an opening at the top, the oil's floating on the top, so it's pushing the oil out into the next tank. The water gets drained out of the bottom, and that's it.
And so, what is there some sort of an air that pushes it, or it's just you just keep
gravity.
filling it? You just keep filling it.
It just the juice keeps running in, keeping it full, and the oil keeps pouring out. If we see water,
So how much water do you fill that with, basically?
It's just the water from the fruit.
Oh, it's the water from the fruit.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So about 50% of the weight of the fruit is water.
Uh-huh.
About 20% is oil, and
Oh,
30% is solids. So the oil comes out, and then we drain the water out. We save the water because that's a natural herbicide that we can spray back into the grove.
Right.
And it also has all the nitrogen and phosphorus and everything that the tree's taken up out of the soil.
Right.
So we're replacing that.
Right.
And the solids get composted and go back into the soil, and that enhances the soil because that fruit was made out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
By the plant taking carbon dioxide and turning it into the fruit. So that's making the soil better and better every year.
And so you're composting all of this.
Yes.
You put it right back into the soil.
Everything goes right back into the soil except for the oil. And the oil is the only thing that leaves the property. And if we think about what the olive oil is, it's a fat, right?
Right.
100% fat.
100% fat. I
Even
love
that's-
fat.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
good.
I'll just say this to you. So when I sign off every day, I don't know what you call it, my tagline, I guess would be it, is spread love like butter.
Ooh,
Because I think poor butter has had such a bad
rap.
rap. And
It has.
and it is so good for you.
It is. Fats, our bodies need fat. They need fats that are easily digested, that we're
Yes.
used to digesting.
Yes.
And olive oil,
And butter.
all those are fats our bodies have been used to for thousands and thousands of years.
Yes.
And because they're simply made, whereas like my favorite to pick on is canola oil.
Oy.
Now, the reason why I like to...
Oy vey with the canola oil.
But
Okay.
have you ever seen a canola?
No, what is a canola?
Exactly.
Exactly.
No one knows what a canola is.
I know what a cannoli is.
That's right, and it's hard to get the oil out of the cannoli. They taste good just on their own.
They do.
Yeah. But canola is a made-up name.
For what?
For rapeseed.
Grapeseed.
No, not grape. Take the G off.
Rape.
Rapeseed.
What is that?
It's a bush that grows in the Midwest, mostly in Canada, in North America. It's a bush with a seed on it that has a lot of oil in it, but it's hard to get the oil out.
And it's not healthy for you.
It's not at all. And they weren't
Because
selling a lot.
it's a polysaturated or a monosaturated?
No, it's more about the process. It's monosaturated. So as far as monounsaturated
It's
oils
good.
are good for you.
Right.
But it's the process. You see what our process is.
Right.
And so the real thing is you want to avoid processed foods, right? So let's look at the process of making canola oil. You can't just take the canolas and crush them and squeeze the oil out. It's not
Right.
available that way.
Right.
So in order to get the oil out, you run hexane through it. And
Hexane is what? A
poison.
petroleum?
Yeah, it's a poison. And so you have to get all that hexane out if you want to have people eating it. So the product that you get, that oil after you take the hexane out, is very stinky.
Let me ask you something. If you are going to deep fry, because after all, this is a cooking show, right? This is a cooking show. So if you are going to deep fry, so on Wednesday, we're making zucchini blossoms.
Oh, yeah, my favorite.
Right?
We can go pick some right now.
Oh my God, I would love to, but they won't be good till Wednesday, right? Because you got to
get them in the morning.
Got to get them in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are we going to deep fry those in?
Olive oil.
Olive oil.
What do you think they do in Italy? They don't.
So why do so many recipes call for canola oil?
Because it's cheap.
Okay.
It does take high heat because it's so refined.
Okay. And so have you heard it told that some of your finer restaurants, because canola oil is so inexpensive, that when they bring olive oil and vinegar to your table, that they literally are mixing half canola, half olive oil in that jar?
Unfortunately, in some restaurants, they buy it that way.
They buy it that way because it's less expensive.
50-50. There's a lot of brands out there that sell a mix of canola because it is so cheap.
And I just want to say this. If you're in a restaurant and really you're watching your health, oh my God, you really don't need me to do this, but I'm just telling you, tell them you're allergic to canola oil and they will bring you only the olive oil, not the 50-50. So, yeah. So, yes, Lisa says, hey, Lisa, yes, but what olive oil is okay to cook at high temperature? I just heard.
Yeah.
I mean, I just asked. So, we think alike, my friend.
So, the way I do a cooking class where I deep fry everything in olive oil.
Everything?
Everything. I'll do zucchini blossoms. I do a really nice...
so you're a cook too?
I love to cook. Both my wife and I love to cook.
That's wonderful to hear.
We cook for each other every other night.
That's great.
And we use lots of olive oil. But deep frying with olive oil, if it's good fresh olive oil, the ideal temperature to deep fry at is about 365, 375.
Right.
So good fresh olive oil.
Get a thermometer.
Yeah, definitely have the two biggest problems that people have with deep frying is they don't get the right temperature and they load too much food into the oil.
Okay. And what about like as an example, if you're making churros? Churros are a deep fried, item.
And delicious.
So if you're deep frying churros, are you going to do them in olive oil?
Why not? Especially if you did them in our blood orange olive oil. It's amazing.
Oh my God, I'd have to buy a case of it.
So here's the cool thing about it.
Or just use one full bottle.
Use a full bottle because good fresh olive oil has so many antioxidants in it.
Right.
That's protecting that oil when you're cooking with it.
Right.
So good, even though it's expensive, you can use it 2, 3, 4 times.
Oh.
So you strain it into an airtight container. I usually use like a stainless steel water bottle or something.
Okay.
So after I'm finished cooking with it, I strain out any of the little particles and put it in this airtight container.
Okay.
And save it for the
next.
next.
And do you use mesh? How do you strain it?
I just use a little,
sieve?
Little strainer, fine strainer.
All right. And so let me ask you this: how do you dispose of that? So let's say you use that blood orange olive oil. I love that idea. You use that blood orange olive oil to make your churros. And how many times do you reuse that oil before you dispose of it?
You can smell, usually it'll last for at least 2, sometimes up to 4. Okay. Depends on how long it was heated.
And then how do you dispose of it?
Well, there's several ways to dispose of it. What we usually do is not dispose of it at all. We'll save it and use it for candles. Because olive oil, before we had all this machinery and everything, if you had an olive tree in your backyard 6,000 years ago, and every year you went to that tree hoping that the fruit tasted better than last year, and it never does, you take all the fruit that fell out of the tree and you pile it together and let it sit there for a few months until it decomposes. Then you go back out there with your Aladdin lamp, a little wick, you take the oil that pooled at the top, put it in your Aladdin lamp, and now you have a flashlight 6,000 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So olive oil was famous for heat and for light long before it was edible because they didn't have the machinery to extract it quickly. Once the Romans came around and built these nice mills, then it became more popular as a food item because they realized it didn't taste like that stinky stuff in the backyard.
Right.
It actually smelled good and tasted good, so then it became part of the diet. So you can use it for, you can take like a little jar, put a wick in it, and little bit of olive oil like that will.
And just burn it.
It burns all night long. No
And
smoke.
so will it have the scent of blood orange?
It might have a little bit of a scent,
okay.
but the nice thing about olive oil when it's burning as a candle is it doesn't put off any smoke whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah,
Not at all?
Not at all.
Oh, I love that.
So you can save it, use it as a, when we do dinners where we were just standing, we do these dinners at night, we'll just take the jars with the olive oil and put them on the table.
I love that. I love that. Should we go tasting?
Why not?
Is there anything else? Should we go tasting, everybody? Yep. Okay. Let's go. Let me turn around and I'll follow you. Sorry about the bad camera work here. There we go. Say hi to Cynthia again.
She's man in the press.
She is. Let's see. I need a Temecula starter kit. What should I select? I got the Moroccan spice and the jalapeno olives. Yes. And she needs oil now. So let me ask you a question. I noticed last time I was in the store, so I have been doing a master class with Yotam Ottolenghi. Do you know Yotam Ottolenghi?
I don't know personally.
But I mean, you know that you know of him, yes? And he is born and raised in Jerusalem, now has restaurants in London, East End London, and all over London. And I took a master class with him. And I was introduced for the first time to dukkha, and yes, and I walked in last time I was in Laguna because I was really passionately right in the middle of cooking in this master class, and found cumin and coriander and dukkha and za'atar, you know, and all these spices that I'd never heard of in my life. And I'm wondering, and what else was the other one? Yeah. Yes. And I was so confused. Of course, you know, it's like I'm going to buy a red Mustang and then I see nothing but red Mustangs on the freeway, right? And so I'm hearing these spices and I walk in and see all those spices in the store. So how is it that you and your family and your partner have come to bringing all these spices that are really not that well known in American culture to your store?
It fits with the whole Mediterranean cuisine. You know,
it does.
Because it's not just Italian cooking, it's not just Greek or Spanish, but North African.
Yep, Moroccan.
The Levant. All these areas have these different cuisines and different herb blends that they make up, and we would play around with them and just find, like za'atar, for example. That's like the mayonnaise of the Mediterranean. You take the za'atar and you put olive oil in it to make a paste, and you spread it on your bread with some cold cuts or something that'll change.
Just amazing. And I just want you to know, I'm going to say to everybody here, raise your hand if I've literally sold you a bottle of the Moroccan spice, because I make a Moroccan chicken, which I designed from when I bought your Moroccan spice the day I first met you in that store.
Now, with your Moroccan chicken, do you ever get the cured lemons and put that in there?
Hell yes, I do. Are you kidding me?
That makes it.
It just makes it. Yes, it does. Although when I was visiting Cynthia, we didn't have any, but we looked up really quickly how to cure your own lemons really quickly. But yeah,
it really makes a difference.
Yeah, it does make a difference. It absolutely does. Okay, let's go taste. I'm so excited. All right. Yes, those, what do we call them? The lemons? What are they called?
We call them cured lemons.
Cured, but that isn't what they're called on the jar. They're called... I know. I'm trying to think too. All right, it'll come to us. Yes.
I think I've got a jar. We've got a jar of the lemons here, don't we? Okay.
What do you call those lemons?
I'm trying to remember what we have on the label. Would you mind grabbing that?
So should I come behind with you? Maybe, yeah. Will you, well, here, this is what we'll do. Let's do a fabulous tasting.
Maybe if you put it right over here, you can stay right there.
Oh, okay.
If you set it like at an
See,
angle.
he's a better cameraman than I am.
Like I said, I've been doing so many Zoom tours now.
Yeah. Okay. How's that? Let me just pull up a stool here. Not quite. I'll just back it up. So, but I can't get too far down or you can't hear us. Tell me if you can hear us okay.
Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear. And, okay. So the key to this is we're not dipping bread in any of this.
Not at all.
Because it's juice. Olive oil is juice.
And
fruit juice.
One of the things about olive oil and bread, the yeast in the bread will actually kind of dull down any off flavors in the olive oil. That's why sometimes if you go to those restaurants where they put the oil out on the table to dip the bread, it tastes perfectly fine, but if you just dip your finger in it and try it, it might not be the best olive oil that you've tried.
Right. And also, let's talk about the vinegars really quickly. So you do grow grapes, right?
Yes.
You can go around the back.
We grow grapes. We still have our winery license, so we make a little wine, but we also do balsamic vinegars, and we've really gotten into that. That's
Yes.
a lot of fun.
So
these
my
days.
favorite is the fresh apple is incredible. I don't know if you guys can see that. So you put this fresh apple with what olive oil?
Well, it goes with any of the olive oils. We do a lot of different pairings, and I personally like it with just the traditional olive oils, like the Olivum. That's a good one, but it also pairs really nicely with the roasted garlic.
Yes.
That's a good pairing
I was
as
waiting
well.
for you to say that. I knew that. And the vanilla and fig, the hatch chili. So my son absolutely adores the hatch chili. And when you think about putting that with the fresh jalapeno, you think, oh my God, that's going to be so spicy. But interestingly enough, the hatch chili actually cuts the jalapeno.
Yeah, it kind of softens it up a
It
little
does.
bit.
And so does the honey or the apple, cuts it just a little bit too, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can play around. People like different pairings. They also like different amounts of the olive oil and vinegar. We usually start with a 1/3 and 2/3 ratio when we're doing like a dressing or something like that. But sometimes you might want a little bit more tang to it, so doing a 50-50 blend sometimes works. It depends on the food that you're making and what kind of flavor profile you're going for. Sometimes we do 100% vinegar. I take with the hatch chilies, I'll take onions and cucumbers and put some of the hatch chili vinegar in it in a bowl and just let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. And then you just use it as a condiment with everything.
Well, I will tell you, we cooked a recipe, if you guys all remember, the double tomato crostini with the smoked mozzarella, and shredding mozzarella on any level, it's a soft cheese, so it doesn't shred. And it's hard to find smoked mozzarella. And when you do, yes, and when you do, it's in a brick, so that means you have to shred it, which never works out. So what we did is we took this hickory smoked olive oil and put a teaspoon or a tablespoon onto the mozzarella and let it soak. And I'm telling you, smoked mozzarella is the bomb. And then, of course, my famous kale salad, always made better with a fresh blood orange olive oil. Always.
I've got to try that.
Oh, it's incredible. I'll give you that recipe for that dressing. It's the blood orange olive oil, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, and Dijon mustard.
Ooh, nice. Have you tried it with the apple vinegar?
I have, and I love it. So what are you going to have me taste?
Well,
nothing's new here. I've had all of these, but I want to see what kind of combinations you'll suggest.
Sure. Well, one of the ones that's been real popular, have you tried the Mediterranean herb one?
I have been using that all last week.
All right.
It's delicious. But how does that taste? Help me taste the difference between the Mediterranean herb and the olive lump.
The Olivum is our traditional olive oil. So it's basically the staple for your kitchen.
That's the staple.
So it's basically
and is that the Olivum?
This is the Olivum.
And then the Mediterranean. So just taste the difference.
So the Olivum is harvested late in the season, and so the olives are all black, and that's going to give the olive oil a very soft, buttery flavor, as opposed to early in the season where the olives are more green, and that's going to be more of a robust flavor.
Right.
The preference at our tasting bars is about 70% buttery style, like the Olivum, to the more robust style.
Yeah, that is very good.
So you can use that in place of butter when you're baking. It's got all kinds of nice flavors for making like a nice olive oil cake.
There's your lemons. lemons are right over there.
Oh yes.
Just to circle back with all of you and tell you what
The
those
preserved.
are called. Preserved lemons. Oh, I don't know why either of us could not
know,
think of
that's-
that name. Preserved lemons, which I do use with the Moroccan spice.
And you don't need a lot of them. You just chop them up a
Yep.
little bit and sprinkle them on. It's really nice. So the Mediterranean herb with the oregano and a little bit of basil and
I love this. I just
Thyme.
adore the oregano
yeah.
in this. It's so ever so slight, but you know it's there.
We actually made a
Definitely
little bit
different.
of just pure oregano olive oil that's going to be going out to our club members,
Oh.
and that's really
So
delicious.
how do you infuse these? What do you do? What's that process we didn't talk about?
Well, infusion isn't the word that we would use.
Oh, okay. What is it? There you go.
Yeah. So they're co-milled, and infusion means that you're putting the flavor in after you made
Right.
the oil. The way we make all of our flavored oils is we take either the fresh lemons, fresh basil, all these whatever it is, and we throw it in with the olives when we crush them.
In the crusher.
In the crusher, yes. So
Wow.
so if you come into the crusher and we're making fresh basil, it smells like you're in the middle of a basil plant, and we're just throwing. Usually we use about 20 to 30 pounds of basil for every 100 pounds of olives, and we crush it together. That way we're getting the essential oil from the basil
That's
mixed
incredible.
perfect.
So you're not making the oil first and then infusing. You're
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
yeah, and you can really tell the difference when we're judging an olive oil competition for the flavored oils. You can tell kind of the oils where it wasn't the best oil that they made, so maybe if I add a little garlic to it, it'll be better. And the ones where they co-mill the roasted garlic right with it,
You can tell.
it definitely makes a difference.
And so I have gotten, somebody told me that the roasted garlic along with the, gosh, I can't remember what it was. I think it was the hatch chili. And she used which I'm going to actually make tomorrow. So when we're leaving at 5 in the morning to get home. So I'll be on the air tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to roast vegetables with the roasted garlic and the hatch chili. And,
nice.
And put it on at the time of roasting, because usually you finish with it. But
This is okay.
yeah, but I'm actually going to roast it with it.
It's good. We also, with the blood orange, we will roast either cauliflower, broccoli, anything like that, any of those, and you roast it in the oven, and then right when you take it out, you drizzle a little of the vanilla and fig on top of it.
I love the
And
vanilla
it's-
and fig.
It's fantastic. It's
Yes.
really a nice.
But you actually roast and not finish with the blood orange.
It is nice to roast with it. The other thing with a lot of these vegetables, most of the goodness for our bodies, a lot of the nutrition is oil soluble. So if you're cooking it with the olive oil, the fat, it's absorbing some of the nutrition that isn't available to our bodies if it's steamed or just cooked on its own. So it makes it even more healthy when you cook with the olive oil. And you're usually roasting at about 325, 350 maybe. So that's plenty within the realm. Our rule of thumb is don't get your olive oil over 400 degrees, but there's really rarely anything that you're cooking over 400 degrees unless it's broiling or something like that.
Right.
And most oils won't hold up to that anyway.
Right, exactly. Well, unless there's just one special little shot you want to give me.
Yes, there is actually.
Oh,
Give
is
me
there?
what-
Okay.
Yeah, let's do. I've got the.
I guess there's something fabulous coming up. Let's see, what does that say? Frank says, I can't see Frank. Frank has a question here. What does he say? Definitely some good info here. Yes, definitely. I'm sorry I
you.
had to get up to actually read that because I
So
can't remember.
this is our fresh basil olive oil,
Okay.
and take a little sip of that. You get the nice basil aroma
Oh my
right
God,
off,
you do.
right? So it's got some nice flavor, but I'm going to add a little vinegar to that,
Oh, that is so good.
and I'm going to add a little bit of our white
Pomegranate?
balsamic and
Oh, white.
pomegranate. So we put pomegranate juice in with and those two together make it a salad dressing that is just to die for. It's a
To
great.
die for.
So in the summertime, now that watermelons are going to start coming out, we'll take the watermelon, cut it up into chunks, put it in the refrigerator overnight to get it nice and cold. We'll mix this dressing up with the pomegranate and basil, toss the watermelon with it, some mint leaves, a little feta cheese on it, and it's a beautiful cold summer salad. And it's
So you let it marinate in it overnight?
no, just let the watermelon stay in the refrigerator on its own, just so it
Okay.
gets nice and cold.
Okay.
So you're going to have it on a hot summer day,
Right.
and so you want that watermelon nice and cold. Then you toss it right before you serve it with this mixture and some mint leaves and
And feta.
and it's a delicious summer
Oh
salad.
my gosh, I love that. Do you guys get that recipe? That's amazing. That is amazing. And Tawny says, what does Tawny say here? Tawny said, what a great interview. We are booking a ranch tour. There you go.
Yay!
Not only book a ranch tour, but book a store tour and buy your olive oils. But more importantly, I buy mine. I mean, I do every time I come down, go to the store in Laguna, as you all know. And many people watching here today have received gifts from me
Lucky
that I have sent to them from the store. But you can also go online. You can become a member of the club, which I am, and you can order anything. And what's really terrific, do you know that you deliver to us in 24 hours? So when I buy at the Laguna store, I never have enough room in my car to take it home because I have a packing disorder, and I pack like I'm going to Europe for 6 weeks every time I come here for the weekend. So there's no room in the car to schlep back my olive oil, so they mail it, and frequently it gets home before I do.
Yeah, we're pretty good at shipping. We do a lot of because we get a lot of people. Laguna and San Diego are big tourist destinations, so people will come from out of town, try our olive oil. Once you try it, you've got to have more of it.
Oh, you do.
And so they'll order, and we ship to them.
Listen, the day that week you opened, when I met you, it's just so amazing to me that I met him and that here I am talking to him, and it kind of just
It worked out well.
It did. It just kind of blows my mind, actually, because I never remembered that chance meeting, and I have it really just kind of makes me emotional because I have so discovered a new level of my own cooking over the years that I was able to transform as a result of what I've experienced here.
Now, don't you find when you're cooking with these olive oils, it makes your cooking easier? You don't have to do a lot of ingredients to bring out the flavors and everything. You just have some couple of good ingredients.
So I have a packing disorder, but I have cooking anxiety. I'm just a mess. And what I found is that if I just haven't put a lot of thought into something and I overcook the broccoli or I undercook the broccoli or I didn't have anything else to throw in but just some sea salt and a pepper, that if I just drizzle the Mediterranean herbs over the top of it, or if the chicken got too dried out, and yes, that all happens to me. It does. I mean,
it happens to everyone.
It happens to everybody, and that's the thing about cooking is you want to let yourself off the hook, and you want to give yourself grace for that. But these have kind of saved the day for me because no one can discover the error underneath all of this.
It does. And the other thing is we haven't really talked about as far as cooking with the olive oils. We do another cooking class where we bake with olive oil and substitute it for cooking, any cooking oil. If you want to be a pro and look good, if you're going to a party and you have to bring a dessert and you're not a great baker like me,
Yes.
You can get the box brownie mix
Yes.
and substitute the cooking oil for the blood orange. Put the blood orange olive
Right
oil,
here.
this one, blood orange,
Blood orange.
and so you use the blood orange olive oil instead of the regular olive oil. Your brownies are going to taste like orange and chocolate together.
Oh my
Put a little powdered sugar on top. It's going to seem like you made something out of heaven.
Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker?
The one it's Duncan Hines. The one with that you have the oil in, because the
Yes.
other one doesn't use oil.
Doesn't use oil. Okay.
And-
All right. That's a great idea.
And the other thing about baking with olive oil, it gives you a little wiggle room because your baked goods tend to be a little bit moister. So if you
I
go
bet.
over a little bit, it's not going to be all dried out.
Well, don't ever use canola oil. That we've learned today. Like, when was the last time you picked a canola?
That's right. If you don't know what it is,
You
don't
don't
put
know
it
what
in
it
your
is.
mouth.
But it's become so reverent. We hear it's ubiquitous. Canola oil. Recipes call for canola oil, and it has become ubiquitous, and so therefore we've come to accept it, and
Right.
that's something we should have never done.
That's right. It's not healthy for you. It doesn't taste good. If your oil doesn't taste good in a cup, just tasting it on its own, it's not going to make your food taste any better.
No, it isn't. Well, one of these days I would love to come cook with you.
That would be fun.
I mean, that would be a lot of fun. Do you
Yeah.
guys ever make it up to Vegas?
Once in a while.
Yeah. Well,
We go out there. My daughter's in. She performed in kind of a Cirque du Soleil company.
oh wow.
And so she loves going to see Cirque du Soleil. So
Yes.
we're usually
Well,
up
they've
there.
just opened back up.
I know.
You know, the town
Yay.
just opened June 1st, which we are very proud of and
Yeah.
very happy. So, well, I cannot thank you enough. This was just a pleasure for me in so many ways. Thank you for your graciousness and being here and talking to people who've heard me talk about you for many a year now without ever knowing him. But now today I had the great opportunity to not just meet him, but to know him, and I'm thrilled. So,
Well, it was great that you could come by. You came all this way, all the way out to Awonga, and
is that what that's
That-
called? I was like, how do you say that name? Where am I?
Awonga.
Awonga. I'm in Awonga. Who knew?
That's right. Now you can cross it off your bucket list.
Oh my God. There are people that come from all over the world to come to Awonga. I
Well,
love
thanks
that.
for coming out.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was a
It was
pleasure.
indeed a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Well, everybody, oh, you know what we have to say?
What's that?
We have to say two things. Number one, I'm just going to whisper this to him. We have to say, may all of your dreams come true.
Okay.
And then we have to say, go out and spread love like butter.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the first thing we have to say. Ready? We'll do yours first on the
Okay.
count of three. 1, 2, 3. May all of your dreams come true. So that was may all of, OLIVE, your dreams come true,
That's
which
right.
I love. And then that's his tagline on everything he sends to you, if you should go and buy it online. And I say, and you guys can all say it with me, 1, 2, 3, go out and spread love like butter. There you go. All right, everybody.
Take
We're
care.
signing off. Thank you for being here. Oh, Roseanne said, a Harvey Wallbanger cake with blood orange olive oil. Oh my God,
sounds
Roseanne.
delicious.
That sounds fabulous.
Sounds fun too.
It does.